I decided to marry my own self. I was in lockdown in my house for 10 days. I couldn't get out. My doorbell was ringing and I opened the door and I saw 35 media people, around 35 media people standing at my door. नमस्कार, मेरा नाम शमा बिंदु है। हमेशा से मेरा नाम शमा बिंदु नहीं हुआ करता था। मैं पैदा हुआ था सौम्या दुबे के नाम से। मैं बहुत छोटा था तब मेरे दिमाग में बहुत सारे सवाल आते थे और सबसे बड़ा सवाल which has been constant was why. I always has this question in my head for everything. घर में सुबह उठने से लेके जब मुझे स्कूल के लिए फ्रॉक पहनाया जाता था और जब स्कूल में असेंबली में मुझे लड़कियों की लाइन में अलग खड़ा किया जाता था और जब क्लास में लड़कियों को मार नहीं पड़ती थी पर लड़कों को मार पड़ती थी और हमको सिर्फ डांट के बिठा दिया जाता था. I always had this question in my head, why is this happening? And मैं मम्मी के पास जाता था, पापा के पास जाता था एंड मैं उनसे सवाल करता था कि आप लोग मुझे फ्रॉक क्यों पहना रहे हो, बाकी लोग तो पैंट्स पहन रहे हैं, आई एम मोर कंफर्टेबल इन दैट. असेंबली में लाइंस अलग क्यों खड़ी हो रही है? एंड आई ऑलवेज रिसीव्ड ओनली वन आंसर, दैट वाज यू आर अ वुमन. And then I started questioning what are the duties of a woman, because if I'm born as a woman in this world, मुझे क्या क्या चीज़ें ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए to be the woman so that people would see me as one. Because बचपन से clashes मुझे बहुत आते थे क्योंकि मुझे पहनने पैंट थे, मैं बात लड़कों की तरह करता था और मुझे फिट किया जाता था लड़कियों की लाइफ में. So I could never understand, so I started copying, mimicking how women behave, from clothes to makeup to how they walk, how they talk. I kept growing up and ये सवाल ख़त्म नहीं हुए थे. मैंने खुद के दिमाग को बेवकूफ़ सा बना लिया था कि लड़कियां ऐसे रह रही हैं, मैं लड़की हूँ तो मैं ऐसे रहूँगा. फिर मैं काफ़ी बड़ा हुआ. जब मैं कॉलेज के टाइम पे आया, कॉलेज में मैंने जर्नलिज्म में एडमिशन के लिए एनरोल किया. जब मैंने जर्नलिज्म स्टार्ट किया, देयर वॉज वन सब्जेक्ट, जेंडर एंड मीडिया. जब मैं वो पढ़ने लगा, आई गॉट टू नो अबाउट फेमिनिज्म एंड आई वॉज लाइक, लोग फेमिनिज्म कर क्यों रहे हैं, क्या है फेमिनिज्म एंड वाई द वर्ड इज इवन फेमिनिज्म इफ इट इज़ फॉर इक्वेलिटी. सो मेरी सोच उस टाइम पे बिल्कुल भी बहुत ही ज़्यादा लॉक्ड थी, केज थी. But when I started reading about feminism, when I started reading about the waves of feminism, and I started reading about different genders, I realized there are more than 50 plus identified genders. And what do we know? Male and female. And then we have assigned duties. If you are a man, you are supposed to shout, take care of the house. तुमको लड़की को ड्रॉप करना है, घर पे पिक करना है, बस में जा रहे हो तो प्रोटेक्शन के लिए you have to keep your hands like this. एंड बहुत नेचुरली आ जाता है, ये सोचना भी नहीं पड़ता कि यार हाथ रखना है, बिकॉज यू आर थॉट एंड कंडीशन लाइक दैट फॉर 25 to 30 years of your life. एंड व्हेन यू आर अ वुमन एंड व्हेन माई माइंड वॉज नॉट थिंकिंग लाइक दैट, बट मैंने सीखा बचपन से लड़कियां रहती कैसे हैं, तो मेरे दिमाग में सोच के मैं एक्ट करता था. ओके, अभी मैं लड़के के साथ जा रहा हूँ, थोड़ा साइड में चलता हूँ, यहाँ पे ज़्यादा लड़के हैं, द अदर पर्सन कैन बी पॉसेसिव, तो मैं खुद का ध्यान रख सकता हूँ, बट आई शुड लेट हिम टेक केयर ऑफ मी. बट व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग अबाउट सो मेनी जेंडर्स एंड सो मेनी सेक्सुअलिटीज, आई रियलाइज्ड दैट ऐसा तो कुछ होता ही नहीं है. हमको तो सिर्फ 2 जेंडर्स पता थे बचपन से, मेल एंड फीमेल. देर आर सो मेनी जेंडर्स एंड ईच जेंडर्स हैज़ देयर ओन वे टू लिव देयर ओन लाइफ. When I was in college, I started dating someone, and it was a long relationship, 3.5 year long live-in relationship. To be honest, अगर मैं खुद को पहले भी याद करता हूँ ना कॉलेज के टाइम्स पे, I call myself, I used to be very nippy. And by nippy I means way too cliche, because cliche is something that you have been taught and you are just following it. तो जब मैं लड़कों से मिलता था तो मुझे पता है लड़कियाँ बिहेव कैसे कर रही हैं, मैं वैसे बिहेव कर रहा हूँ, उनके साथ रह रहा हूँ, डेट्स पे जा रहा हूँ. सो आई स्टार्टेड लिविंग विद दिस गाय in live-in relationship for 3.5 years and I was very serious. एंड मुझे था मेरी लाइफ ये है, मुझे सेटल होना है इस इंसान के साथ। मैंने मेरे घर पे बता दिया, उसने अपने घर पे बता दिया, एंड इट वॉज काइंड ऑफ वेरी सॉर्टेड, साथ में रहने लगे। एंड टू बी ऑनेस्ट, आई हैव नेवर फेल्ट दैट गुड इन एनी रिलेशनशिप, like being treated that way. That man treated me literally like a queen, and without a doubt I was having the best year of my life, which was 2020, until things started coming back. You have those flashbacks from your childhood that keeps coming to your head, and that was the time when I realized I'm not just a woman, I'm a human, and I'm not just supposed to live physically, move physically, but mentally as well. Then I was on a quest to discover my own self. I was still in the relationship, but I had a lot of questions in my head. Is this what I want from my life? क्या मुझे किसी की बीवी बन के पूरी ज़िंदगी निकाल देनी है? और जो लड़कियों के लिए कैरेक्टरिस्टिक बनाए जाते हैं कि तुमको बचपन से ये फ्रॉक पहनना है, ये लाइन में खड़े होना है, मेंस्ट्रुएशन की बात लड़कों से नहीं करनी है, अपनी पर्सनल चीज़ें शेयर नहीं करनी है, हमेशा एक कदम पीछे चलना है, और शादी के बाद तुमको उनके फैमिली के साथ रहना है, खाना बनाना है, बिकॉज यू आर टेकिंग योर नर्चरिंग टू देयर हाउस जब तुम किसी लड़के के घर जाते हो, बिकॉज यू ऑलवेज कम अराउंड दिस टॉन्ट कि घर पे क्या सिखाया है. बट देन ऑल दिस थिंग्स स्टार्टेड लिटरली हैमरिंग माई हेड, बिकॉज नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ द फैमिली दैट आई वॉज लिविंग विथ, not because of my boyfriend, but because of my own self. Because I am not just a woman, I'm a queer. I am a 26-old queer, a woman, a human, and a rebel. And this question, why, that I told you, always stayed constant in my head, was always there. So I started questioning again, कि मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ. मेरी लाइफ अच्छी खासी चल रही थी, मैं कॉलेज जा रहा था, दोस्तों के साथ चिल कर रहा था, अच्छी खासी जॉब भी चल रही है, ये भी अच्छा है. जो मेरे बॉयफ्रेंड के साथ मेरा रिलेशनशिप था काफ़ी प्यारा था, और मैं बोल भी नहीं रहा हूँ कि मैं खुश नहीं था. आई वॉज दी हैप्पीएस्ट पर्सन, बट स्टिल देयर वेर क्वेश्चंस, बिकॉज आई वॉज नॉट जस्ट अ गर्लफ्रेंड, आई वॉज नॉट समवन्स टू बी, but I am a human, and there's a lot more to me. I was not born in this world to live a life, to be someone's and just die. There was a lot that I had to do. So उस टाइम पे मैंने थोड़ा सा ब्रेक लिया 2-3 महीने का, एंड कुछ फ्लैशबैक्स मुझे वापस आने लगे, बिकॉज अ इंसिडेंट अराउंड दैट हैपेंड वेयर देयर वाज अ मैन, अ cis-het man, who tried coming close to me physically, and I guess all the things that happened since my childhood were numb. Because I guess this is the first time that I'm saying this on camera, but it's not been once or twice, but a lot of time being a woman in this country, when I have been touched without my consent, where I have been, called out names. But then it started coming back, and it happened so many times that my body was numb to it. I couldn't feel anything anymore. And that was the reason, the void that I was feeling inside me, because there were a lot of unresolved emotions within me. Then I told my boyfriend, because I'm a very honest person, I told him that, see, there is a lot that I need to do in my life. I need to work on myself, and I'm not leaving you because it's you, because it's me. I need to do some straightening out with myself. And we mutually broke up, and I came back to my house. When I came back to my house, I took some time, and I started thinking like, what is going on? And there was a part of me, a queer part that I never knew that existed. So I installed, and I was like, why not let's meet some women? So जब मेरा पहला मैच हुआ किसी लड़की के साथ, I felt like, वो टीनेज लड़कों को फीलिंग आती है स्कूल में, कि जब प्यूबर्टी हिट करती है सारी लड़कियों को देख के, कि यार पास में बैठ जाऊँ, यार साइड से निकल जाऊँ, यार रिप्लाई आ गया. I was literally jumping like a kid when a woman just messaged me, hi, what's up? Because it was very new for me, the feelings were transforming. I started going on dates with women. I started hanging around with them. I started being more within my queer community. And then I realized that I was once again that teenager. But then with that, I started accepting the masculinity that I have in me. Because बचपन से मुझे ये बताया गया था, if you are born with this woman body, you are supposed to behave like one. And my mind never accepted that. Why, as humans, we are always supposed to mold in a predefined mold? Why can't I be something else? मुझे एक टाइम पे ऐसा लगने लगा ना कि खुद की लाइफ खुद की मर्जी से जीने के लिए भी मुझे समाज को एक अर्जी देनी पड़ेगी. और एक टाइम मुझे ऐसा फील हुआ कि मेरे शरीर पे, मेरे जज्बात पे, मेरी सोच पे मुझसे भी ज़्यादा हक मेरे आसपास के लोगों का है. एंड दैट वॉज द टाइम व्हेन आई डिसाइडेड कि वो हक मैं उनसे छीन लूँगा, क्योंकि उनका कभी था ही नहीं. बिकॉज आई वॉज बॉर्न इन टू दिस वर्ल्ड एंड आई वॉज गिवन दिस लाइफ टू मेक इट माई ओन, टू हैव माई ओन आइडेंटिटी. नहीं तो मेरे में और ये पेड़ों में क्या फ़र्क है? आते हैं, उगते हैं, सड़ जाते हैं. बट आई एम अ ह्यूमन, आई कैन मूव, आई कैन थिंक. ऑल दिस वर्ल्ड दैट वी सी आर क्रिएटेड बाई ह्यूमन्स. एंड दैट वॉज द टाइम जब मैं मेरी मैस्कुलिनिटी एक्सेप्ट करने लगा. एंड उस टाइम पे मैंने मेरे प्रोनाउन सबको बताए. माई प्रोनाउन्स आर ही, दे. And I am bigender, which comes under the umbrella of non-binary. And I'm very pansexual. I like humans regardless of their gender. And I understood all of these things after breaking up, after I was, while I was in my journey to discover my own self. So I started going on dates with women, started accepting my masculinity. And it was really good. I was feeling like, एकदम बढ़िया, एकदम जन्नत जैसा महसूस हो रहा था. बट until when I started accepting the queer identity of myself, the society intervened again. Because society started telling me, are you a guy or a girl? तुम कर रहा करके क्यों बात करते हो? Then I was like, just to ignore them, I was just like, मैं ऐसे ही बात करता हूँ. They ignored it. And then when I was hanging around with women and I was very out and proud and they'd see me that I am a part of queer community, I'd get comments like, Hijra, Chakka, you are not a complete woman, you are not a complete man. And a lot of conversations around this would make me feel like, should I have a, sex change surgery? Because I am feeling masculine, my body is a woman's body, but society is making me feel like I'm something else. But then I remembered the vows that I used to give to myself when I was a kid. So बचपन में ना मैं शीशे के आगे खड़ा होता था. जब भी मुझे बुरा लगता था, मैं शीशे के आगे खड़े होके मैं खुद को बोलता था, बिंदु you're safe, बिंदु you're fine, बिंदु you'll fight this the way you have fought everything in your life. And you'll make this right. And that used to give me motivation. And since my childhood, I've always self-motivated myself. So, fortunately, I got a girlfriend and I was in a relationship with her. And to be honest, it was one of the most beautiful emotions that I've felt being a human. If I would have listened to society or what have been taught to me since childhood, I would never have known this side of me. The relationship was going well, but relationship में आगे बढ़ने के बाद एक stage आता है, right? कहाँ जा रहा है relationship? Destination क्या है? Then there were these questions when my partners would talk about marriage, and I'll think about it. But then जो बचपन से मुझे conditioning दी गई थी 25 साल से, तुम शादी करोगे तो ये चीजें होगी. I was very afraid. But then मैं भागा नहीं. I used to tell my partners, I'll think about it. When the right time comes, I'll think if I want to get married, but I do not see myself becoming a wife or a husband. Later, after my breakup, I took a long time alone. And during that time, I started going on dates with myself. I started going on solo trips from south to northeast to north to Rajasthan to metropolitan cities. I traveled everywhere alone. And I cannot begin to tell you, when you start traveling alone on your own, and that too being a woman in this country, you discover so many things. And just to tell you, एक एक शहर जहाँ जहाँ मैं सोलो ट्रिप करने के लिए गया था, I had to go to the police station for some other reason, because something or other would happen because the woman's body. When I came to a point कि यार मैं शादी नहीं कर सकता हूँ. Why? Because people talk about equality in society. But if you're talking about equality, जब शादी होती है, the moment a woman leaves her house and goes to a man's house, there's no equality. Why a woman is supposed to leave her house? And I'm not saying a man should leave his house. You both should leave your house and live together. जैसे कि तुम पढ़ाई करने जाते हो, तुम हॉस्टल्स में जाते हो, कॉलेज में जाते हो, you live your family, right? And you keep meeting your family. For some people it may work, for some people it might not work. And a lot of people also tell me, you are queer, you are pansexual, you can marry a trans, a woman, this situation wouldn't be there. Who says? When two people want to live together and they both love their family, what is the way out? One has to do something. So when I started really liking the life that I was having with myself, I decided to marry my own self. It might sound very weird, and you might already know about it because there was a boom on internet about this thing. But for me, it was a very simple move, a very small thing. I decided to marry myself because even before knowing about sologamy, that sologamy existed, I was like, yeah, देख शादी तो मुझे करनी है, because I always wanted to be a bride, but not a wife. So शादी तो करनी है, मुझे जोड़े भी पहनने हैं, मुझे सारे रस्म भी चाहिए, but बाजू में I don't want a spouse. So I told this to my friends. They laughed it out. They were like, ऐसा possible थोड़ी, ऐसा कौन करता है? खुद से शादी is very stupid. And few of my friends were like, what's the point? What are you trying to put? What is the point that you're trying to make? I told them, मैं किसी से प्यार कर रहा हूँ, उसको मैं 1 साल से 2 साल से 5 साल से जानता हूँगा, रिलेशनशिप में हूँ, उसके साथ 10 साल और गुजारूँगा. I don't know what that person can become. I know myself since 25 years. I know good and bad about me. I know what I like to eat. I know what I like to wear. I know when I sleep. I know when I get up. I know when I'm not in a good mood. And I know how to make myself happy. So when I decided to marry myself, I started researching about it. If I can actually have the rituals, because if I'm going to do it, if I can actually legally marry myself, I googled it. And when I googled, the result that I received was sologamy. That there were a lot of people all over the world marrying their own self. And it made sense to me. Because since my childhood, मैंने यही सोचा था कि एक इंसान है, वो इंसान की खुद की ऑटोनॉमी है. People are self-governed. So I understand जब parents are giving you birth, they have a lot of rights over you. But when you become an adult, and तुम अपने खुद के opinions form करते हो, you make your own life. And that was the point when I realized I want to make my own life. Doesn't matter what the society says, doesn't matter what is right and wrong. To be honest, right and wrong हम खुद decide करते हैं. Gender discrimination can be very right to someone and can be very wrong to someone. Same goes, there was a long time when sati practice was very right for a lot of people, but it got banned. And we have laws on that. Same goes to queer community. When being with the same sex was an offense, but now people are being together and we are fighting for same-sex marriage. So what is right and wrong? I mean, society खुद के सही गलत बनाती है, and I am my own person. I decided to make my right and wrongs. मेरे लिए खुद से शादी करना एकदम सही था. तो जब मैंने पढ़ा इसके बारे में, it was very normal for me. I made a greeting card, wedding card, invitation card, जिसपे मैंने मेरा खुद का नाम लिखा, और I decided कि मेरे कुछ close friends हैं, मैं उनको भेज दूँगा and they'll come to the wedding. So I was talking to one of my professors from journalism, like just a casual talk, कि hi, how are you? While he asked me like what's going on, I was like, I'm gonna get married. And he asked me, with who? I was like, with myself. And he was like, what's that? So I laughed at the question, like, that's a marriage. But then he said, I do not know about it because I know he's a journalist. He'd be able to understand. So whatever articles I read, I just sent it to him. And he asked me if he can publish it. Initially, I was very hesitant about it because that's something which is very personal to me. But later, I said yes because I have done journalism. मेरे समझ में इतना था, बड़ौदा के लोकल न्यूज़पेपर में एक छोटा सा कॉलम आएगा. And if after my professor said there are a lot of asexual people, there are people who do not want to get married, there are people actually going through a lot just because of the stereotypical marriage institution definition that we have existing today in society. I was like, yeah, if you want to publish it, it would be a Vadodara local newspaper, you can go ahead. And I didn't think about it. I had my dinner and I slept. Next morning, I just brushed my teeth and I got out of my bathroom. My doorbell was ringing and I opened the door and I saw 35 media people, around 35 media people standing at my door. And I was like, what is going on? And all those people with cameras and lights and mics, they started asking me questions out of nowhere. What's your name? We read your news. What is going on? And I was just numb. For a long period of time, I was in denial that it has even gone to news. So मैं मेरे घर पे सेंटर टेबल के ऊपर बैठा था and people were everywhere, on the floor, on the sofa, everywhere, with so many cameras and mics. And I was just answering because I was just feeling very numb. They were asking me questions and I was answering them because I wanted them to leave as soon as they can because I didn't know what is going on. So when they left, I took a deep breath and I started thinking, has this gone, like, itna zyada bada ho gaya ye news? Why are these people there? So many calls, 15 minutes mein 75 missed calls. And I was scared, what is going on? And then I started getting calls for interviews to come on debates, live debates, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it because it was very personal for me. And when it went out so big, I was not able to understand it. I was in denial कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ ही नहीं है. But then I opened my Instagram. I went to the comment sections. I went to my messages. There were so many messages all over the country, even outside the country, from America, from Britain, from Australia, from Bangladesh, from Nepal, a lot of parts from India, where women, men, trans, asexual people, they were messaging me and they were so proud of the thing that I was going to do. And still I was not able to understand this fact, why this is a big thing for the country, because this was very normal for me. But I also read some messages where people mentioned how their elder sister committed suicide because she was forced to get married. How asexual people are forced for marriages and they do not want to fit into the heteronormative society. How there has been so many people struggling and having PTSD just because of the simple word marriage. And that was the time when I decided to give interviews. I started giving interviews for them so that people have a better understanding about sologamy. I started giving interviews and it was very chaotic. I was in lockdown in my house for 10 days. I couldn't get out. मैं पानी का बॉटल आता है 5 लीटर का, वो लेके आता था 3rd floor तक. I couldn't go out to even get that. So when I'll feel thirsty, I would have to call my friends to go out and get me some water, because even getting out of my house was such a big deal because media people were everywhere. They just wanted to take a shot, take a bite. And that is why I had to be locked in my house for 10 days. And these interviews were going on when one of the leaders from, they said that I cannot get married in a temple. I struggled a lot to find a priest to get this marriage done. वो पंडित से भी जब मैं मिला था, he was very shocked कि ये कौन सी शादी है. हम तो दूसरी शादियाँ कराते हैं, आपको पेट से करानी है तो हम करा देंगे, लेकिन we do not know about this marriage. I was like, this is just a marriage where other person wouldn't be there because I'm marrying myself. So the vows that I'd be taking, that is for myself. And the priest agreed. वो आने ही वाला था when all this thing went in media. He took a step back. And मैंने एक मंदिर डिसाइड किया था जहाँ शादी करने वाला था मैं. That was also not there. After this, one of the leaders got involved. They were like, I cannot get married in a temple. I started thinking, what am I doing? ऐसा तो मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? Am I killing someone? Am I hurting someone? Am I hurting myself? Am I making a criminal offense? Why there's such a boom out there in the country and why people are objecting it? To be honest, जब भी कोई नई चीज़ आती है ना, ऑडियंस हमेशा 50-50 में डिवाइड हो जाती है. 50% who would want to know more about it, who will support it. 50% who will completely be rigid and they do not care कि क्या है, and they do not want their culture or the tradition that has been going on to be changed. And to be honest, मैंने मेरे एक्सपीरियंस में जितना देखा है, 50% a lot of them were people who have been through the same situation that I was in. When I tried understanding this thing, why it is such a big deal, I understood. This is a male-dominating country, and I'm saying that out loud on camera because it still is a male-dominating country, where at each place, from your house to the rickshaws, to the public transport, to the corporate, to after marriage, when you have a child, everyone wants men. Men are having a bigger authority even when they don't want to. I'm not saying जो पुरुष प्रधा है, पेट्रियार्की, उसे सिर्फ औरतें पीड़ित हैं, आदमी भी हैं. किसने कहा आदमी को पसंद आता है कि घर संभालो, कमाओ, राशन लेके आओ, तुम बार बार पिक करो, ड्रॉप करो. They also want to rest. They want to chill for a while. That is why you'll see a lot of men these days resting at home and accepting their women going out and earning because they see nothing wrong in that. So that was the time जब मुझे पता था सब लोग खुद को सेल्फ इनवाइट कर रहे थे मेरी शादी में कि हम आ जाएं. And I was like, मुझे खुद नहीं पता ये शादी पॉसिबल है कि नहीं. And there was media people who were asking me, are you getting any threat calls? And I was like, threat call क्यों आएंगे मुझे? The thing is, people kept on asking me one simple thing. शादी क्यों करनी है? तुम अकेले भी रह सकते हो. What is the point of getting married? क्योंकि शादी बिना किए भी तुम अपनी लाइफ निकाल सकते हो. तुमको नहीं रहना किसी के साथ. If you're happy with your own self, then why do you want to get married? The only answer to that is because I can. Because I'm not doing anything wrong and because I want to. Why do I need to take permission from other people to do something with my own self? Because I can marry myself and I wanted to, and I wasn't committing any crime, so I did that. And because सबको पता था 11 जून को शादी होने वाली है, and it was nearly not possible for me to get married, I preponed the date. I thought of getting married at 8th of June. I didn't tell anyone. I called 2 photographers. I did call one of my professors because the news already went out and it was everywhere. So I called the professor that I was talking to very initially. So he took some bites, and there were 2 videographers and all of my friends. And just to tell you, it was one of the happiest moment of my life. When I was in that red dress, when I was a bride and I didn't see anyone beside me, when I knew the whole country was against it and they didn't want me to get married, but I was still doing it, that made me feel so powerful because, you know, एक इंसान के पास उसके दिमाग के अलावा, उसकी विल के अलावा कोई और पावर नहीं होती है. And I only had that. So मैं शादी के लिए बैठा, मैंने खुद के साथ फेरे लिए, खुद को वरमाला पहनाया, खुद को मंगलसूत्र पहनाया और खुद की मांग भरी. And it was nothing different than marrying a man. And I'm saying that very honestly. When I was getting married to myself, It was one of the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen on this earth till this age. And still when I go back to that clip, I feel that again. So बचपन में जैसे मैं शीशे के आगे वाउस देता था, कुछ 15-18 साल पहले मुझे पता भी नहीं था कि I can do this. Life came around to me and I was able to do it. So शादी तो हो गई. शादी के next day again this media thing was not stopping. I went to a conference room and like a media conference, and I gave the interview. And after that, the life has been best. People come to me and they keep asking me. Also one more thing that तुमको यार कोई और मिल जाता, तुमने बहुत जल्दी कर दी शादी करके, तुमको वेट करना चाहिए था, शायद तुम्हारे लाइक माइंडेड कोई मिल जाता, तुमको जैसे इनइक्वालिटी में तुम बिलीव नहीं करते हो, शायद कोई मिल जाता कि जो इक्वालिटी में तुम्हारी तरह बिलीव करता हो, एंड यू वुड बी हैप्पी विद दैट पर्सन. Again the answer was same. I don't think anyone can love me better than I can, because the way I treat myself, I don't think anyone can ever treat me like that. When I can take myself out on dates, when I can make myself happy, then why do I need to rely on someone else? So I just want to say this one thing. Even after getting married to myself, even after being out and proud, when people were like, people had a lot of comments to make, this is a publicity gimmick, this is very stupid. People called me out as a narcissist. People said that the vegetables would be out of stock because I'm marrying myself, which I felt it was very funny. So बहुत सारे comments आ रहे थे, बहुत सारे trolls आ रहे थे. उस time पे I had this question in my head. In a society where we talk about mental health, where narcissist personality is a disorder, and where media agencies were just calling out this term so casually, I couldn't understand or wrap my head around it. I'll just give you one simple logic जो मैं बचपन से अभी तक सबको देते आया हूँ. When this world was created, howsoever this world was created, we did not have languages, clothes, gender, rules, और कैसा खाना खाना चाहिए, हाथ से खाना चाहिए, मुंह से खाना चाहिए. We did not know about anything. We created things that fit to our own head. कि अगर मैं सीधे चलूँगा तो मैं गिरूँगा नहीं, अगर मैं हाथ से खाना खाऊँगा तो जल्दी जाएगा पेट में. And if someone feels like spoon is more comfortable, there's nothing wrong in that. If someone has been taught that you are supposed to marry the opposite gender, and if you feel like you want to marry the same gender, there's nothing wrong in that. And if someone like me does not want to get married at all, but wants to marry their own self, there is nothing wrong in that. Because when you ask me if this is right and wrong, I have one question in return for you. What exactly is right? How were you told? How did you concluded that what you think is right? Because it was taught from generation to generation, and we have just been following it. When there are so many possibilities, that is why you see there are a lot of people who are politicians, who are gangsters, who are celebrities, who are doctors, who are inventors. If everyone would have followed the same way that they have been taught since childhood कि तुम लड़के हो, तुमको ये करना है, हमारे घर में सब डॉक्टर है, तुमको यही बनना है, ये सही है और ये गलत है, अगर उन्होंने ये समझा होता, they would not have been where they are. So after getting married to myself, life has been beautiful, and people ask me कि क्या changes आए. The only thing is कि कोई changes आए ही नहीं, because I stand here in front of you not supporting the marriage institution, the heteronormative marriage institution that we have existing today in society, because I believe in equality, I believe in feminism, I believe in anatomy, and I believe when two people are in relationship, any kind or any form, let it be parents and children, let it be girlfriend and boyfriend, let it be colleague and their supervisor, they have their own autonomy. And I, each day when I sleep now, I'm sleeping, I'm having a sukoon ki need. आई एम नॉट स्लीपिंग विथ थॉट्स, अरे यार सुबह उठ के तो दाल चढ़ानी है, चाय बनाना है, शाम को घर वापस आना है, बिकॉज आई कैन डिसाइड मुझे घर आके सो जाना है, या फिर मुझे बाहर से खाना लेके आना है, या सुबह मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है नाश्ता बनाने का, या मुझे ऑफिस लेट जाना है, या मुझे किसी और के साथ टाइम स्पेंड करना है. पीपल केप्ट आस्किंग मी व्हाट अबाउट माई सेक्स लाइफ. आई ओनली हैव वन आंसर टू से इज दैट मैरिज is a commitment that you give to yourself, and the ceremony that I had was a celebration of it. Being with someone or not being someone is relationship orientation, and I'm a polyamorous person. A lot of people would not understand it. Monogamy is when you are just with one person. Polyamory is when you have multiple partners. I'm not going to marry anyone else, and I'm not going to share my child with anyone else. But I do not stop myself from feeling love in this life. So, just to answer all the questions that has been asked, and if you think me being with other people after being married, as there would have been comments, you'd be cheating on yourself. Who am I cheating on if I'm happy? If I have a partner and I'm cheating and I'm lying and I'm going back to them, I'm hurting someone. But if I'm being with someone and it's making me happy, my partner and myself are happy. And I feel polyamory is about transparency. All the partners involved in it, they know about each other. And there's no lie, there's no betrayal, there's no cheating. And I feel जब ये दुनिया में लोग ये बात समझने लगेंगे कि इंसान का जो राइट्स है वो उसके पास खुद के हैं, एंड दिल टेक देयर राइट फ्रॉम सोसाइटी, कि सोसाइटी उनको सिखाए कि उनको बाल कितने रखने हैं, कद कितना रखना है, वो खूबसूरत कैसे हैं, उनको किसके साथ रहना है, किसके साथ नहीं रहना, कौन सी जॉब करना है, कौन सा प्रोफेशन लेना है, कितने आगे बढ़ना है, कब रुक जाना है और कब मर जाना है. I feel like we should take that power in our own hand. We should decide for our own self कि कितनी उम्र में हमको पढ़ना है, कितनी उम्र में जॉब करनी है, कब जॉब छोड़नी है, कब किससे शादी करनी है, सेम सेक्स के साथ रहना है, किसी और के साथ रहना है. अगर मैं सिर्फ हेट्रोसेक्सुअल हूँ फिर भी मेरे प्रोनाउंस कुछ और हैं, दैट शुड बी कम्प्लीटली माई ओन चॉइस. द वेरी लीस्ट अ ह्यूमन कैन डू फॉर अनदर ह्यूमन इज एक्सेप्टेंस. शमा बिंदु और बाकी लोगों में फ़र्क क्या है? Why people want to hear from me? Why you are not here and I'm standing here? There's only one difference. Because I took the decision. I took the risk. There's nothing wrong in taking accountability and charge of your own life. Thank you.